Let us start right here, right now. In the middle of everything that is happening at Arsenal Football Club this summer, Viktor Gyokeres is at a World Cup. Declan Rice is the subject of Real Madrid interest. Andrea Berta is being chased by Saudi Arabia and Bayern Munich. And Pogba has just made one of the most revealing statements about Arsenal that any former player has made in years. This is not a quiet summer for Arsenal. This is a summer that will define the next chapter of one of the biggest football clubs in the world. And every single story breaking right now is connected. Every single development feeds into the bigger picture of what Mikel Arteta and this football club are trying to build. So let us get into it. Let us break it all down. Because the reality for this club right now is that success has not made things easier. Success has made the stakes even higher. And the decisions being made behind the scenes in the coming weeks will determine whether Arsenal can take the next step or whether the momentum built over this historic season begins to slow. The evidence suggests that Arsenal are moving with purpose and with clarity, but there are pressures building from multiple directions. And as your analyst, my job today is to walk you through every single layer of what is happening and what it all means for Arsenal Football Club. Here is what was at stake coming into this summer. Arsenal won the Premier League title. They ended 22 years of waiting. Mikel Arteta became the first Arsenal manager in over 2 decades to lift that trophy. That is a historic achievement. Nobody can take that away from this club or this manager. But winning the Premier League is only the beginning of the conversation now, because the Champions League final came and went. Arsenal reached it, and then they lost it on penalties. Gabriel Magalhaes missed, Ebereki Eze missed, and the European Cup stayed out of Arsenal's hands once again. So entering this summer, the pressure on Arsenal is not to simply enjoy what they have achieved. The pressure is to build on it, to go further, to win the Champions League, to retain the Premier League, to make sure that the players who delivered that title are still here and still hungry, and to make sure that the infrastructure around the team is strong enough to handle a full season of competing on every single front. That is the scale of the task. That is what is at stake every single day this summer as these stories develop. And if you want this level of deep analysis breaking down every layer of what is happening at Arsenal, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel is dedicated to giving you the full picture, not headlines, not clickbait, real analysis, real insight, every single time. Now let us go deeper. Paul Pogba and what his words actually reveal. Let us start with Paul Pogba, because on the surface, his comments on TalkSport might look like a simple prediction. A former player giving his opinion on a radio show. Easy to dismiss, easy to ignore. But when you actually listen to what Pogba said and when you think carefully about the implication of his words, there is something much more interesting going on here. Pogba said that Manchester United will win the Premier League in the next 5 years. He said it with confidence. He said it as a bold statement. And then he said something that stopped me in my tracks as an analyst. He said, and I want you to pay close attention to this, he said that if Arsenal can be champions, then Manchester United will definitely be champions. Now think about what that sentence actually means. Pogba is not simply predicting that Manchester United will win the league. He is using Arsenal's title win as the benchmark. He is using Arsenal's achievement as the reference point. He is essentially saying that the standard required to win the Premier League has been lowered because Arsenal won it. That is an extraordinary thing to say, and it reveals something very important about how Arsenal are perceived by certain figures in the football world right now. Here is the reality. Arsenal won 45 matches across all competitions last season. That is not a number you can dismiss easily. The evidence is clear. Only 5 teams in the entire history of the Premier League have ever bettered that total across all competitions in a single season, and Manchester United have only done it once. So when Pogba suggests that Arsenal winning the title represents a lowering of standards, he is doing so in the face of a record that tells a completely different story. And here is the other piece of context that matters enormously. Manchester United have not won the Premier League since the final season of Sir Alex Ferguson. That was in 2013. Arsenal waited 22 years to win their title. That is well documented and well known. But Manchester United, the club Pogba is backing so confidently, are now 13 years and counting without a league title themselves. Arteta's Arsenal are Premier League champions. They are Champions League finalists. They are actively strengthening their squad this summer. Manchester United, now under Michael Carrick, are in a rebuilding phase. And rebuilding phases, as any serious analyst will tell you, take time. Carrick's side will also face the additional challenge of European football next season, which means competing on multiple fronts simultaneously. That is a significant step up from focusing purely on domestic competition. The situation is clear. Pogba's confidence is understandable from a personal loyalty standpoint. He loves Manchester United. That is obvious. But from an analytical standpoint, the facts simply do not support the idea that Arsenal setting a record for wins in all competitions represents a lowering of the bar. What Pogba's comments actually reveal is how seriously Arsenal are now being taken, because you do not make statements like that about clubs that nobody is thinking about. You make statements like that when a club's success is sitting right in front of you and you need to find a way to process it. Arsenal are living rent-free in the minds of their rivals. And that is not nothing. Andrea Berta and the Champions League promise. Now let us move to the story that I believe is the most significant of everything happening at Arsenal this summer. Andrea Berta arrived at the Emirates Stadium on March 30th, and when he arrived, he made a promise to Mikel Arteta. He told Arteta directly that he would help him build a Premier League winning squad. That promise has now been delivered. Arsenal are Premier League champions. But the conversation between Berta and Arteta did not stop there, because the moment that Premier League title was secured, the next target was set, and the next target is the Champions League. The situation is extraordinary when you step back and look at it properly. Arsenal have never won the European Cup, not once in their entire history. The club's only European trophy came in the Cup Winners' Cup in 1994, that is over 30 years ago, and it was a different competition entirely. Arteta's greatest ambition, and this is now clear from everything surrounding the club, is to make Arsenal the first team in their history to win the Champions League. He was so close last season. The final was right there, and then penalties decided it. And in that moment, the pain of what was lost must have been immense. But here is what I want you to take from this. The fact that Berta is now setting his sights on the Champions League as the next goal tells you everything about the ambition and the belief inside that football club right now. This is not a man who delivered the Premier League title and then sat back. This is a man who immediately shifted his focus to the next mountain to climb. And Berta is doing this despite significant external pressure pulling him in different directions. The Saudi Pro League made a move to try and bring Berta over to the Middle East as a sporting director. That is a significant approach. The financial power of Saudi football is well documented. The offers being made to figures in European football are genuinely compelling for many people. Bayern Munich also expressed interest in Berta. Bayern Munich, one of the biggest football clubs in the world, a club with resources and ambition and a reputation for attracting top football minds. And Berta's response to both of those approaches was effectively the same. He is not interested in leaving. He wants to stay at Arsenal. He wants to win the Champions League. The evidence suggests that Berta's commitment to Arsenal goes beyond a contract. It is a mission, and that kind of commitment from someone in his position is invaluable to a football club that is trying to build something sustainable and special over a period of years. For Arteta, knowing that his sporting director is turning down Bayern Munich and Saudi Arabia to stay and work alongside him must be enormously motivating. It tells you that the people inside that club genuinely believe in what they are building, and that belief is contagious. The next step for Arsenal on the continent will not be easy. European football is unpredictable. The Champions League is brutal. But the foundation being laid right now, with Berta committed and Arteta contracted, and the squad being actively strengthened, gives Arsenal the best possible platform to go further than they did last season. Declan Rice and the Real Madrid question. Let us now talk about Declan Rice, because this is the story that will make a lot of Arsenal supporters nervous if they are not careful about how they read it. Real Madrid have expressed interest in Declan Rice. Let that sit for a moment. Real Madrid, the most decorated club in the history of European football. The club that wins Champions Leagues almost as a habit. When Real Madrid express interest in your player, it is never something you dismiss casually. Rice had a season last year that elevated him into the conversation of the best midfielders in world football. He was vital to Arsenal winning the Premier League title. He was a leader on the pitch and off it, and his performances made it inevitable that the biggest clubs in the world would take notice. His current contract runs until the summer of 2028, so technically Arsenal have time. He is not entering the final year of his deal. There is no immediate panic. But Arsenal are not treating this situation casually, and that tells you everything you need to know about how seriously they are taking the Rice situation. The reality for the club is that they have already begun contract talks with Rice, and they are going well. Arsenal are fully expecting to secure his long-term future. The information coming out of the club suggests that an agreement is expected to be sorted soon. And critically, Rice himself is believed to be very happy at the Emirates Stadium. That last detail is important because when a player is happy at a club, when he feels valued, when he feels connected to the project, it takes something extraordinary to pull him away. And the evidence suggests that Rice sees Arsenal as his home right now. Real Madrid's interest is real, but their hopes of signing Rice appear to be fading. And the reason they are fading is because Arsenal are moving quickly and decisively to tie their star midfielder down to a new deal. The situation with Rice also reflects something broader about where Arsenal are as a football club right now. A year ago, the question was whether Arsenal could attract and keep the best players. Now, the question is whether the biggest clubs in the world can take Arsenal's best players away from them. That is a fundamental shift. And it speaks to the transformation that has happened under Arteta. Rice will also be encouraged by the fact that Arteta himself is in the process of signing a new contract. When your manager is committing his future to the club, it makes your own decision to stay much easier. The pair could achieve something very special together in the coming years. And both of them know it. There is also the matter of Jurrien Timber. The Dutch international is very close to signing a new contract with Arsenal. The final details of his deal are being sorted. Timber missed a significant portion of last season due to injury and is also absent from the World Cup because of a setback he suffered in March. But his commitment to Arsenal through those difficult periods speaks to his belief in the project, and Arsenal securing his long-term future is another piece of the puzzle being put in place this summer. Viktor Gyokeres and the World Cup stage, and now let us talk about Viktor Gyokeres, because he is currently at the World Cup and he is making his presence felt in a very significant way. Sweden thumped Tunisia 5-1 in their World Cup opener, and Gyokeres was right in the middle of it. He scored, he got an assist. He linked up brilliantly with Alexander Isak at the top of Sweden's attack. And then after the game, he showed exactly the kind of character and composure that Arsenal fans have come to expect from him. A former Swedish player and analyst named Martin Asland posted criticism of Gyokeres on social media during the game. The criticism focused on his first touch and suggested that he was too slow to release the ball, even going as far as to suggest that Isak should have had a free position in a moment where Gyokeres held on too long. Now, criticism of players is a normal part of football. Analysts and pundits make observations. Sometimes those observations are fair, sometimes they are not. But what I want you to focus on is how Gyokeres responded. He did not get emotional. He did not launch a public attack. He did not go to war with the pundit on social media. Instead, he let the performance speak, and then calmly, almost with a hint of sharp wit, he responded with exactly the right words. He said, and I want to quote this precisely because it matters, he said, "I got 1 assist and could have gotten 2 more. I do not know how many assists you should get in a game." That is not the response of a player who is rattled. That is the response of someone who is completely secure in his own ability, someone who knows exactly what he brings to a team. Someone who does not need external validation because the evidence on the pitch speaks for itself. And the evidence on the pitch from last season is extraordinary. Gyokeres joined Arsenal from Sporting CP last August. In his first season at the club, he finished as Arsenal's top goal scorer in all competitions. He also scored the goals that sent Sweden to the World Cup, netting a hat-trick in the playoff semi-final against Ukraine before scoring the decisive winner against Poland in the final. The man is a big game player, and now he is at a World Cup alongside Isak, managed by Graham Potter, with the opportunity to show the entire world what he is capable of on the biggest international stage. Potter himself made it clear before Sweden's opener that Gyokeres is central to his team's plans. He described him as having had a fantastic season and said that getting the most out of him gives Sweden a genuine chance to win football matches. That level of confidence from the head coach in your striker is exactly what a player of Gyokeres' profile needs. The World Cup stage will only amplify what Arsenal already know about their striker. And if he continues to perform the way he did against Tunisia, the entire football world will be reminded why Arsenal moved to sign him in the first place. Pulling it all together, now let us step back. Let us look at everything we have discussed today as a complete picture. Because when you put all of these stories side by side, what you see is not a collection of individual news items. What you see is the full shape of Arsenal Football Club in the summer of 2026. You see a club that just won the Premier League after 22 years of waiting. You see a club that reached the Champions League final and lost on penalties. You see a club whose sporting director is turning down Bayern Munich and Saudi Arabia to stay and chase the European Cup. You see a club that is working hard to tie down its best players. You see a club whose striker is performing at a World Cup with the kind of confidence and character that every supporter wants to see. And you see a club whose success is now drawing reactions from rivals. Reactions like Pogba's comments, which on the surface look like a dig but actually reveal something deeper. They reveal that Arsenal's achievement has forced the football world to take notice and respond. The situation is clear. Arsenal are no longer the nearly team. They are no longer the club that comes close but cannot quite finish the job. They are Premier League champions, they are Champions League finalists, and they are building for more. The summer ahead will have its challenges, keeping Rice tied down, managing the World Cup and making sure players return fit and ready. Navigating the transfer market in a way that strengthens without disrupting the balance Arteta has built. These are not small tasks. But the evidence from everything happening right now suggests that Arsenal are approaching this summer with the same discipline and the same clarity that they approached last season with. The foundation is strong, the ambition is enormous, and the belief inside that football club, from the manager to the sporting director to the players themselves, is as high as it has ever been. Paul Pogba can make his predictions, Real Madrid can make their inquiries, Saudi Arabia can make their approaches. But right now, in the summer of 2026, Arsenal Football Club are the Premier League champions. They are coming off the back of a Champions League final. And they are not finished. This is Jessica, Arsenal analyst. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far into the video, then you already know that this channel is different. We do not deal in noise, we deal in analysis, we deal in facts, we deal in the full picture. If you have not subscribed yet, do it now, and I will see you in the next one.